didn't get a list, did you? A map?
Oh,
7 kilometers, easily done in an hour and a half. I would love to see anyone do this in an hour and a half. On my own, when I first started it, it took me over 2 hours just walking it without stopping. So, yeah, we're not going to do it in an hour and a half. If you have to leave it an hour and a half, that's fine. Everyone is here, if not. Welcome to San Francisco. My name is Henry.
Hi,
I'm a
Henry.
volunteer with Hostel International. So this is an absolutely free walking tour. The only time you'll need money is if we stop somewhere to buy lunch. And we will take breaks along the way. And, you know, I clear my calendar so we can go as fast or as slow as you like. Since it's fairly warm, we'll probably do a slow pace. So I've been doing this now almost 18 years. Let's see what else. Typically, it takes around 4 hours. We've done it in 3.5, 4. But again, it's entirely up to the group. We will climb the 3 most famous hills in San Francisco. We'll go up some of the steepest streets in San Francisco. We'll go into neighborhoods most tourists never see, and we'll go into neighborhoods most locals have never seen. And let's see what else. And when we end the tour, I'll be glad to answer any questions about where you're going afterwards. Are there any Americans in the group? Okay. We're never more than 2 miles or 3 kilometers from here, so we'll end up about 3 kilometers from here. Are you comfortable with kilometers?
Yeah.
Okay. So the whole northeast quadrant's only around 3 or 4 kilometers, and we'll end up around 3 kilometers from here. So it's easy to get back here. Is everyone from this hostel or somewhere else?
I'm from the downtown.
Downtown. Okay, we're actually even closer to the downtown hostel. Anyway, so let's head out. Anyway, before we do that, let me just... San Francisco is considered one of the most beautiful cities in the world. But if you were here 300 years ago, it looks very different. All you would have seen are massive sand dunes, dirt, rocks, swamps, lagoons, sagebrush. Everything you see green, every tree, every brush was brought in after Europeans came here in the 1700s. And in fact, even to today, the wind blows the sand onto the beaches, and we have to keep pushing the sand back into the ocean. Hence the phrase, if you walk to the bridge, Park Service put up a sign referring to this city as San Francisco. I didn't make that up. I'm blaming it. But anyway, but it is a beautiful city. And I always like to remind people San Francisco is always considered a wide open town. Anything goes. So feel free to ask any questions. Nothing is taboo. And if you don't believe me, you can ask the naked guys. It is not illegal to walk around town naked in San Francisco. It's usually a little cold too, but it's not illegal.
It's not illegal? Or
No,
is it
it's not illegal.
Okay.
As long as you're not doing anything improper.
Okay.
But only
What?
probably only here it would be illegal because it's federal land, right?
I don't think anyone would care, but who knows? Yeah, most of the naked guys hang out in the Castro. Every year we have a naked bike ride, but a lot of cities have that. Anyway, so let's head out. So the name of this place is Fort Mason, as it used to be a military base. The whole Bay Area was a military base, which was actually very lucky for us, because instead of being turned over to private developers, everything was turned into a mixed-use park. Mixed use in the sense there are commercial establishments like the Hostel. Over in the Presidio, George Lucas has a studio. You can't visit the studio, but you can visit the Yoda fountain. There are homes you can rent so you can actually live in a national park. And it's open parkland for anyone to enjoy. Hence the phrase mixed-use parks. Some of the oldest buildings in San Francisco are right here in Fort Mason, like the Hostel from 1866. In San Francisco, that's old. Some of you come from places that have buildings a little bit older than that.
Is it still from 1866?
I think so.
Oh, that's crazy.
I'm sorry?
Do we know who did it?
It was, yeah, the military. I think it was a barracks and a hospital. It's gone through several iterations. sign that says coyotes live here. A few months ago I was here, there was a coyote right in the middle of this park trying to get something out of a bag. Generally they won't bother you as long as you don't bother them. About a week ago a coyote attacked a little kid, but they generally will not attack adults. These are called bottle brush plants. If you look at the red, because they look like a bottle brush. We'll see them around town. They're probably from Australia because they're the ones who told me about this. Like everything else that grows well here. Those of you staying here, when you come back, be careful, there's a car. When you come back, feel free to walk through the community garden here. We'll be going through one of the largest community gardens in town. Palm trees are not native to the city.
Like it's pretty cold here, so
What?
like it's really cold along the coast.
Yeah, along the coast it gets very
Like
cold.
they just weather that all right, basically. They weather the cold, okay? Like they can.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
the ocean side can get very cold. Generally our temperatures between 10 and 20 or 50 and 65 all year long.
Okay.
We haven't had snow since 1976. In fact, LA has had snow more recently than we have.
Oh, wow.
In fact, one year the city went out and brought in snow and had a ski jump up in the hills of Pacific Heights.
Oh, that's awesome.
But the people there don't like people coming into their neighborhood, so they haven't had it there since.
Right.
Rich snobs. Those of you staying here will probably hear the wild parrots of Telegraph Hill. I don't know if you have. They live over in Telegraph Hill, but they come over here in the morning. In fact, on the way in, I heard them a little bit. They're wild animals, so you can't feed them, but they are also movie stars because there's a movie out called The Wild Parrots of Telegraph Hill. See the trees all the way in the background by that red tallish building. The house in front of it belongs to Danielle Steele. Does anyone know who she is?
Yes, yes. She's a
She's
writer.
one of the best-selling authors of all time. So she has several houses. That's just one of them. But she doesn't like tourists, so I don't try to visit her. In
Okay.
fact, she's probably not there. She has other houses around. That area is called Pacific Heights. Very wealthy, great hills, beautiful mansions, and nice views. Now, if there's any neighborhood you'd like to visit that you see today, there's a group called City Guides that offers free walking tours all over town, 75 different ones. Every neighborhood they cover. So if, let's say you like Pacific Heights, Russian Hill, whatever, they offer a walking tour.
Again, what's the name of the?
City Guides, and everything I tell you will be on the list I'll give you later, so you don't
Okay.
have to memorize
All right.
everything.
Okay.
And their tours are all free, of course.
What books is Danielle Steele for?
What?
What books?
Oh, I have them.
They're romantic novels
Oh,
like
gotcha,
that. Yeah,
those ones,
yeah, those are cheesy.
Nice.
Harlequin type novels.
Yeah, you make money that way.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. But I went to school pretty
I was just saying, bike riding is popular here. What also is popular is taking a bike from Fisherman's Wharf to the bridge, across the bridge, down to Sausalito, come back on a ferry. In the summer, lots of people do that. These two buildings were voted among the ugliest in town, which is certainly true. The good news is, well, these were built in the 60s. As soon as these were built, people got so upset, they passed the law banning high-rises in residential neighborhoods. So there's now a 7-story limit in residential neighborhoods.
okay.
With all these high-rises you see, obviously we're stuck with them.
When was the regulation?
I'm sorry?
When was the seventh floor regulation?
Sometime in the 70s, before I got here. But. Is anyone familiar with the name O.J. Simpson?
I've heard.
Yeah.
Okay. He's a famous football player that was accused of killing his ex-wife. He went to school here. This is where he played high school football.
Oh, okay.
The field was named for him for many years, but in 1995 they removed his name because of this scandal.
Yeah. Yeah, so I got a park there. It's been good.
We used to see lots and lots of smart cars from Germany. I don't see them very often anymore. Now we see lots and lots of Teslas, the electric cars. Also, keep your eye open because we will see lots and lots of what we call robo-cars with the thing spinning on top. Those are self-driving cars. You'll see them go by empty, which is a little spooky when you first see it. But we'll see a lot of those.
But there are people sitting
What?
inside. There are people sitting inside.
Sometimes,
Okay.
but not drivers.
Yeah, they're not drivers.
But no, but you'll see them going around empty, which is, as I said, a little spooky.
Yes.
Did you sit in one?
What?
Did you sit in one of those
No.
driverless cars?
No.
I tried ordering one, but because my postal code's Canadian, I couldn't complete the credit card.
Okay.
But you could, like, if you got a prepaid card or something, you could like install the app and just try it out. Like, I might still do it.
I haven't tried it yet. Now, occasionally I've gone to an intersection, I see a robo-car making a turn. The robo-car will stop and wait till I go completely across. If there was a driver there, he wouldn't wait. He would just go right across. So they are good in that sense.
Oh yeah, yeah. I crossed it.
I walked first and then I hopped off the bus because I realized I cannot make sense and I scooted. And I realized I was gonna take a train but then I was a little bit too late. So, it's a little bit. Does it work? Yes, yes, yes. I'm not sure about going.
So let me give you a very brief history of San Francisco so things will make sense later on. So as I said, for thousands of years this was a pristine wilderness. The first Europeans to come here were the Spanish in the 1700s. They built the fort in what we now call the Presidio. They built a mission church, what we now call the Mission District. You can still attend Mass in the original church from the 1700s.
Is mission another word for church or is it something else?
Mission was their term for, it was more than church, it was the whole community, but yeah, that was Spanish. So, and they also built a tiny little town, what we call Chinatown. Back then everything was dirt. By the 1840s, there were less than 500 people in all of San Francisco. The land at that time belonged to Mexico. So our President Paul contacted Mexico saying we would like to buy California. Mexico said no. So of course we declared war in Mexico, won the war, seized the land, and paid them for it anyway. The treaty was signed the last week of January of 1848. The very same week, gold was discovered 250 kilometers east of here. San Francisco became the hub of the gold country. It went from 500 people to 50,000 almost overnight, 95% of whom were young men from all over the world. It was truly a Wild West town. Everything you've ever heard about the Wild West was here. Drinking, violence, lynching, gambling, prostitution, drugs. If you think Americans are obsessed by guns now, back then you had to have a gun for your own protection. There were very few women here at the time, but the women here had more rights than anywhere else in America. They could own businesses, so the women typically owned the hotels, restaurants, laundries, brothels, entertainment, and some of them became among the wealthiest in town. So the city was being developed from the bay to Van Ness Avenue. The one area that wasn't being developed was the hills, because whenever they tried to get supplies up the hills, the horses kept dying on them. In fact, a man named Andrew Halliday saw an accident where a cart tipped over, killing 2 horses. He got so upset, he said, we have to do something. So he invented cable cars. Later today, we'll visit the Cable Car Museum. As soon as he did that, the rich people brought up Nob Hill, built these beautiful mansions. We end the tour on Nob Hill. When you get there and look for the mansions, you'll notice they were no longer there because in 1906 we had a massive earthquake. Has anyone experienced a big earthquake? They're not fun. This went on for over 50 seconds. But the city came through it fairly well. What happens then and now, gas mains break, water mains break, fires start, no way to put them out. So the city was on fire for over 3 days. This is a map of the burn area. We're standing here, and we'll later visit Telegraph Hill, but this became the fire break. Virtually every building on this side of town was destroyed. The ones on this side survived. As you can see from this photo, this is east of here, this is west of here. What?
Completely desolated.
Oh yeah, it was like a war zone. When we get to the Cable Car Museum, they have a wonderful exhibit on the earthquake and fire with pictures, photos, and video, etc. So the city rebuilt very quickly. They dumped the rubble in the bay next to Fort Mason, creating what we call the Marina District. And 9 years after the earthquake, had a World's Fair hosting 18 million people.
Wow.
Since then, we've had one major earthquake in 1989. What happened is part of the Bay Bridge was damaged, and several freeways were damaged. So the city removed the freeways, so we're probably the only American city that doesn't have a freeway running right through the heart of it, for which we're eternally grateful. And they recently built a new Bay Bridge. Hopefully there won't be another earthquake for 30 or 40 years, in which case I don't have to worry about it. Now people ask, are we worried about earthquakes? And the answer is no. If we were, we wouldn't live here. Converted our entire bus fleet to electric or hybrid. Hybrid meaning biodiesel. So these are what we call soft story buildings. 3 or 4 stories tall wood frame. They tended to collapse in the earthquake. So after the '89 earthquake, the city mandated that all such buildings be steel retrofitted. Now that can cost a building up to $500,000, but it was mandated by law. So hopefully these will survive the next earthquake.
It's an option. I'll just start seeing if I can get it.
So these signs were put up by a local group because as a result of COVID, there was an increase in hate crimes against elderly Chinese, as if they somehow were responsible. Now, it wasn't helped by the fact that our former president referred to COVID as Kung Flu. But Chinese really had nothing to do with it, but these were put up to help prevent hate crimes.
Actually, my plan right now is I want to go to the Netherlands for my year.
Oh, cool.
I want to do that.
Nice. Which university?
It's the University of Utrecht.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, a lot of them come here. Mainly engineers. Probably.
Yeah, what study history?
The only thing that's
Yeah, so they're both I mean, these two go right.
City where I'm from.
Right. Yeah.
Mumbai should be popular.
Oh, it's very, very good. But then if you go towards the Himalayas, that's the view.
Like, are you trying to get a
Well, it's a very hard place. We have the beach.
Yeah.
Gosh,
So this neighborhood's called Cow Hollow because it used to be home to dairy farms. Now it's an upper middle class neighborhood. No more cows.
Yeah, you're in the right place.
So welcome to Russian Hill. It's called Russian Hill not because Russians live here, but the original Spanish explorers found a Russian cemetery near here. Russians actually settled
Yeah. I mean, like, driving through, like, you know, the Midwestern states, it's got all
Yesterday I learned that walking through that there are no cemeteries here.
Actually, there's one or two, but they're all moved out to make room for living people.
Okay, there's no space for dead people. Just
Very
space for
liberal
living.
cemetery and a military cemetery. And I think that's it.
So all the cemeteries are in the
Most of them are south of here in Colma. Colma's the town known for all the dead people. Nobody lives there, just dead people.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry. A
Yeah.
few people live there, but it's also dead.
Mostly cemeteries. Okay.
She was asking about cemeteries which were moved out of here to make room for the living. Anyway, the city is also obviously trying to promote bike riding, as well as, has anyone been on one of those things?
I do that from downtown.
And how was it?
A little bit scary.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to go on it. The scooters.
Are they electronic? How much did I cost? I bought it.
the bike service. lights. So I think it's got enough like $4 per ticket, and then every minute I use them for my
I would never want to go on that. Has anyone been on the Segway? Segway?
No.
There's a place at Fisherman's Wharf you can try it. It's a tour. I did it with my nephew a bunch of years ago. And if I could ride a Segway, anyone can. Because my balance is terrible. But they're very easy once you learn them. Is anybody going to have a car while in the city?
Sorry?
Will you have a car, anybody? If you park on anything resembling a hill, turn your wheels or you will get a ticket.
Oh, okay.
But they don't tell you that. You just have to know that.
And why do you need to do that?
Safety feature.
I think isn't that certain?
Sorry?
Doesn't that guy have his wheels turned the wrong way?
No, the front wheel is the one that matters.
Oh, okay. I just thought he would turn the other way.
If you
No,
keep
the
it straight,
car
you
would
really
roll
keep-
back, presumably into the curb.
Either way, I guess it would, yeah.
Makes sense.
No, this is actually correct.
Okay, okay. I've been doing it wrong then.
On the other side, you would be turning it the other way.
Yeah. God. It's okay, I'm used to it. That was in LA. I was ever since Atlanta. Yeah, Florida's bad, but I think my GPS would get good stuff. Like normally
I would never go in.
Yeah, Florida was going to be like stuff up there. And sometimes there'd be like 3 options, and in Florida just be like, take the ramp. And I'm like, which ramp? Yeah. So then I'm getting like one of those magnetic boosters. Yeah, this whole, yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, every bit helps. That's a cool hack. Yeah, because I guess it's not your car.
So I've been in
Bought it,
San
but
Francisco a couple of
I'm
days.
getting like a sticker
Before that, I was in
that
Wisconsin
has
for a week.
it's just metal, I guess. So there's like a magnet now.
And so it was more like nature that I enjoyed. And then before that, yeah, I have a friend that family.
Yeah.
So we used to have lots of smart cars in town, not so many anymore. One possible reason is one night, 5 of them were found tipped over on their side.
The wind?
What?
Because of the wind? Oh,
Sure, it's
geez.
a prank. They're not that light, but the windows. Yeah,
Okay.
it's probably a prank. But don't see that many of them anymore. It actually makes sense for the city because they can park almost anywhere.
Yeah.
Staircases are very popular with people for exercise. We have over 650 public staircases. These are considered public streets, private gardens, meaning the city does not maintain the gardens. Later today, we're going to go down the Filbert steps, the premier steps for walking, but we'll be going down, not up. When you get a chance, I recommend you visit the Moraga tiled staircase, south of Golden Gate Park, on a hill, Beautiful mosaic tiles. So it's a spectacular view. And again, everything I tell you will be on the list I'll give you later. So we're going to go up the left side here.
Nice content. On text usually.
It's a real situation for people. Fortunately, my rent control apartment is on the lower level, so I don't have to worry about that. And as I said, the steps are movement exercise. This is a cute little studio, 70 square meters, 630 square feet. Looks something like this.
Did you guess the price?
Do you want to guess?
And it's 630 square feet. How much is it in terms of? I don't know.
Estimate 750,000.
What? To buy? Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know what we're doing. Rents in this neighborhood typically go for $3,000 to $4,000 or $5,000 a month. I'm lucky because I have a rent control apartment, so I don't pay $2,500. If I moved out, the landlord would easily bump it up to at least $3,600. In San Francisco. But our utility bills are low because we really don't need heat or air conditioning. That's a trade-off.
Oh, that's good.
We have 40 degrees here.
It rarely gets hot and rarely gets cold. 10 to 25 is typical. Or 50 to 75 for anyway, so it's a long ways to go.
Yeah, I know it's getting bad.
Upping.
I mean, Canada too. Like Canada, I think it's something one of the worst in the world right now. Because,
And Vancouver, especially.
yeah, Vancouver. Yeah,
They would be surprised.
it's a business.
Don't forget to drink water because you are walking up and down. Even though it's not hot, you're walking up and down to this.
How's it called when the rent isn't about to rise? How's it called again when your rent is frozen?
Rent control.
Rent control. Does this only exist in San Francisco or also?
No, New York, Berkeley, and a few other cities have it. Not too many.
Is it a few areas?
It's based on the age of the building. Any building built before 1980. Modern buildings, they can charge whatever they want. Like downtown, they charge 10% rent increase every year. Downtown, we have a building called the Millennium Tower, 50-story tall. Condos there go for $10 million each, and it's sinking and tilting because downtown they did not build on bedrock.
That makes sense. The hostel I live in, I feel like it's really, yeah, I feel like it's still dead.
So they're paying for it now. They said it'll cost them $100 million to fix that, to build, prop it up or whatever.
No, it's like
Has rent gone down? Like in the last 1 or 2 years, has
No.
rent gone down?
The city froze the rent for 1 year just because of COVID.
Yeah.
And since then, They've gone back up.
Okay, because haven't like on net people left the city in the last 1-2 years, or is it?
Some have, but other people move in.
Yeah. Okay.
I wasn't too worried when people left. Yeah,
Yeah.
goodbye. We'll fill up this.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Because jobs are still. Now the thing is, a lot of our jobs, people work from home now, so our downtown is a ghost town because people are working from home. So for a while there was no tourism and no downtown, so we were really strapped. But tourism is slowly coming back, so thank you for visiting. But the downtown is still a ghost town because people are still mostly working from home.
Yeah. Oh, that house too. Both those houses. I don't know, probably like 2 million.
So this is the newest building on the block. 6 stories to it, some of them down below. It has a chandelier that goes the whole length of the building. So if you'd like to know what it might go for, you can just look underlined under Zillow, 2626 Larkin. I should look it up myself.
booking it back to where it's at soon. Yeah, it's been fun, but busy.
So this is a nice multi-family home, recently remodeled. It's a terrible place to live because during peak tourism season, there'll be cars backed up from the Crooked Street all the way down to Van Ness, non-stop, thousands of cars going by your front yard. If I could afford to live here, I'd live somewhere else. But it's a nice looking home.
visiting China, right? Oh, gotcha. Oh, cool. Do you drive? Or, okay, nice. Yeah.
Restricted.
Yeah. Yeah, no, helps a lot. It's a lot of freedom. Like, it's nice to go exactly where you want. Like, especially because, like, I love visiting cities, but the people and national parks. So you really
So this is Lombard Street. It bills itself as the crooked street in the world. It's not the crooked street in San Francisco. That honor belongs to Vermont, which is south of Market Street, but nobody goes there. Everyone comes here. During peak tourism time, there'll be cars backed up all day long going down Crooked Street. In the past, I've seen people skateboarding down, which is illegal and dangerous. I've seen people doing a Segway tour down, which if you get a chance to do it is a lot of fun. And there's a big wheels contest here, going down here. But this moved to Vermont, which is the Crooked Street. In the past, somebody hit a fire hydrant and the whole street flooded. Which sounds funny, except the gardens are maintained by one person. They had to replant everything. And some stupid truck driver tried to go down. Not make it.
He got stuck.
Yeah. So we're going to walk down, not on the street, on the sidewalk. Again, during peak tourism season, it'll be non-stop cars, people. It's a kind of dangerous area because nobody's paying attention. The police come by and chase everyone out of the street, and then of course when the police leave, they all go down.
When is the big peak tourism season?
Well, hopefully soon. On weekends anyway. But no, we're still recovering. So I'm going to give you a list of things to do, and one of the things you must do is ride the High Street cable car. This is the one that does the roller coaster track. We were the first city in the world to have cable cars in 1873. We were the last city in the world to use the cable cars in our transit system. Other cities use them for things like ski lifts or something. We actually use them as part of our transit system. So you must, at some point, ride the High Street cable car. And along the way, I'll tell you some cable car stories. We're going to walk down the sidewalk here. Well, since I mentioned, let me tell you a cable car story. So in the 1960s, a young woman named Mona Hutchin was riding the cable car, and you've seen people hanging on the side. The conductor said, "Step inside, only men can hang on the side of cable cars." She thought he was kidding. He wasn't. They had her arrested. She was taken downtown to the DA's office, at which point they realized, no such thing. So from then on, women could hang on the side of cable cars. So she was like the Rosa Parks of the cable cars. Also around the same time, another woman was riding a cable car. And the cable car is actually challenging work for the grip man. So he actually lost control of the car. The car crashed. The woman sued the city, claiming the accident turned her from a devout Christian to an insatiable nymphomaniac. And she won $50,000 back in the 60s. You could have bought a house for that much money. Proof positive, anyone can sue anyone for any time in America, for any reason. If you'd like to learn more about her, go online under SF Nymphomaniac or the cable car named Desire. And again, every story I tell you will be listed on the sheet out there. Frequently you'll see drivers going down with one hand on the wheel and one hand on holding out their selfie stick for photos. So it's kind of dangerous, but that's what they do. And you can see there's a pole in front of the tower protection.
Yeah.
Of course, the pole looks like it's bent, so somebody probably
It's really good. I really enjoy it. It's like so peaceful. You can see the ocean. Yes. It's nice. Yes, that's not exactly.
It's very comfortable. So you probably, I don't know, stay in the park for like 2 days and then go back to.
Yeah, 3 days like wasn't enough for me. I mean, I ended up wasting some time because you can't get a campsite this time of year. Like I booked 2 last minute. So I stayed in a hostel, so you drive like an hour and a half in and out for 3 days.
Now the price is more great.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I was paying like under $50 a night. That's pretty good. And getting in the park for me makes it It's so the way it works is to get in one day to a
So the people that live here know that this is going on every week. So they're crazy. I would not want to live here. If I could afford this, I'd live somewhere else.
So basically, yeah,
Si irán a querer ir al barrio chino más tarde.
like it's kind of safe. It's just back to the back end. Like my experience was the sister worked very good. Sister worked for them. And then I guess at one point within the first year they tried to run a big shop, the office. I mean every country has their own. Right? So they try to like go back to
So for the first time in 6 years, we actually had some rain this year. So all the gardens all over town look at as good as I've ever seen. But for 5 years, we had a severe drought, all of California. We'll be heading up to the Coit Tower next.
Thank you.
Here where the weather's consistent, it's all worked pretty well.
So we are leaving Tourist Central. We'll be on for a while. We're still in Russian Hill.
To cook it, so do you have a group or I did it with my partner. He's doing the whole. So you start at the border to Mexico and you finish at the border to Canada. You traverse USA. Yeah, it takes half a year to do it. Oh, and that's why I'm here to visit him and to. So cool, the park is so cool. Yeah, it's very bright. It's so fascinating. I joined only for 1 week and it was so exhausting and really beautiful but exhausting. Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah, that's crazy. I like hiking, but I always want to. I really love like I only day hiking, but I never do like camping. But I always you're camping in nature, right? Me neither, and I remember I realized I'm so scared of nature. But the bears.
This is a beautiful Art Deco building from the late 1920s. I wish they built buildings like this now. Instead they build these stucco monstrosities with no character whatsoever. What's really sad is the people that live here have to look at that building. The people that live there have to look at this building. But depends on when you move in, actually, probably. Yeah, but
They also built like the modern buildings.
maybe there'll be an earthquake that just knocks down the ugly buildings.
We don't know who
So again, we are headed towards the Coit Tower next. This again is an example of a public street, private gardens maintained by the Russian Hill Association.
They like their gardens.
Yes.
Not so much anymore. I actually saw it and I was very scary. But now it's beautiful. Now it's over and now we have your partner is very good. Yeah. For the first 2 weeks I was feeling the same. And now it's a daily life.
So here you see examples again. Bottle brush plants.
Do you do marketing for them? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Like facility.
Looks cool.
Is it like south?
I think I need to have more time. Maybe to use all the sounds and living your tent and you want to sleep and it's so noisy. But life is brave to do it by himself. Yeah. Yeah, I also ultimately felt better. I would never do it alone. But maybe there's lots of people do it alone. You and every woman knows.
There's some guidebooks that list this as the steepest street in town at 31.5% grade. It is not the steepest, it's not even close.
We're going to see the steepest?
No, you're not. I'll tell you about it. 'Cause it's, actually, it's over near the vicinity of Broderick Street, 38% grade. So if you, it's only 1 block long, so I encourage you to climb it. If you don't want to do it yourself, you can go online to YouTube and watch a bicycle going up a 38% grade. Otherwise, do it yourself. It's walking distance from Fort Mason. We'll walk up this one since they say it's steep.
It's a nice view. It's one of the more famous hikes to Vancouver. Rouse Grind. But I mean, it's like a day commitment, so you know.
So if you go online and look under the steepest streets of San Francisco, there's several lists that pop up. Each one's slightly different. But this is on the list, but it's not the steepest. as you walk up, or again, imagine you're 90 years old and you live here.
Okay.
I think
We'll be dead.
people who live here have
Morning.
stay very close. Just leave the house.
Tip over. Yeah. Honestly, yeah.
And they probably have a car, right?
I kind of wonder at what point would a car tip over? At what angle? Obviously, they're not tipping over.
Maybe at 38%. I don't know.
Probably over 40. Later today, we're going to go up the other side of Filbert here. You'll be able to compare which side you think is steeper.
Did those EVs tip over here?
What?
You showed those pictures of the electronic vehicles that tipped over.
It was not electronic, it was smart.
Smart car. Did it tip over somewhere here? Did it tip over somewhere here? Because the
I don't know exactly where it was.
the way they park is crazy. It's
No,
like
this was not accident, this was deliberate. Because there were 5 of them that tipped over.
Almost feels like you're pushing one. Watch it fall down, you know, just satisfy the chaotic urge.
It's always interesting trying to get out of the vehicle on this side. You really got to stop. Especially when they park right next to you.
I think I'm trying to park.
So much pressure on the right.
Yeah.
Spring.
Right.
I'm sure they will not spring.
Yeah, you gotta alternate how you park or something. Yeah, because you could back in and exit. Yeah.
Nobody's died on the road. Nobody's seriously. Keep that in mind.
Nobody yet. You don't want to get sued, right?
Can't sue me, you can't sue a volunteer. You can sue the hostel.
Right.
Then anyway, let's.
What do you think about this?
The only time you can sue is flights.
Different person.
And from where did you come?
I think Dubai for 3 days or somewhere.
I really heard that. No, it's okay.
It's okay. I slept. I wore my shirt out. I was up from 12 until I was sleeping. Then I woke up.
Good. I think going like this is a contact for you.
Yeah, I'm glad because it's Friday.
How long are you staying to stay? Hello? How do you know? Oh, I have a friend from there, but she's in the water right now. So I just tell me everything you know about her. And I go to the all set up
So on Russian Hill and Telegraph Hill, we're going to see a lot of examples of streets that don't look like streets. Like this is a public street. And if you're ever unsure, look for the street sign. Over on the other side of town, down those square feet after, they have a lot of multicolored paintings, what they call the painted ladies, which are nice. Most of the old Victorians were adored in gray, basic color gray. So I guess this is a step up from gray. Not much. Whenever my nephew visits, he insists we go to Swenson, come up the hill to Swenson's ice cream. They've been around for over 80 years. My favorite ice cream there is their pumpkin ice cream, which I don't know if they offer all year round, but they have several different interesting flavors throughout the year.
Can we try it now? Like,
No.
no, okay.
You're going to walk for a couple hours after eating ice cream, and you can take a bus up if you don't want to walk.
You've never come to this part of the city?
I did, yeah. I was here 2 weeks ago, did this.
But you stay in San Francisco?
Sorry?
You stay in San Francisco?
I stayed in I lived in San Francisco for 3 years.
Okay.
Then I got married and we moved to Berkeley, which is like one train right away from San Francisco. I'm here almost every day.
No, I want to actually. I mind going back. I lived in the Netherlands. I lived there for the past 6 years. And I want to new city. I want to new stuff. I really like
Yeah, don't describe it more south. How the accents
I could imagine that one day in any city
Those vans that just went by are a throwback to the 60s. In 67 it was called the Summer of Love here. you know, 100,000 hippies came here and got drunk and passed out and left, whatever. But then 50th anniversary of their celebration, so that's when these buses started. Maybe he doesn't know that it's over yet. Anyway, but that was a big thing in the 60s. So you can take a tour with those buses. We will be heading down to North Beach, the Italian section. First, we're going to take a slight detour in Russian Hill before we head down.
I think she already booked something. What any chance to go help
Okay.
So like outdoor event. And then I guess during the week I will check out the city and maybe also some tours by myself.
Watch out.
Yeah, it's a bit like here, where like depending where you walk, you can all of a sudden be like, "What is this safe?" But by and large, it's really beautiful. But like when I was there, the whole like let's say where it was just bad as there. Yeah, it's really bad. Again, because it's you can get warm weather. I was there 2 years ago. Yeah, I was there. Yeah, I ended up walking on a beach at night, and I couldn't see too well. All of a sudden I look around, there's tents all around me. And I was like, whoa, what's happening? Yeah.
As much as I normally hate high rises, I'll check a high rise from 1930. Former mayor used to live up on top there. He's now governor of California.
Gavin Newsom?
He grew up friends with the Getty family, so obviously they.
Is the Getty family like Getty images?
Among the wealthiest in the world.
Okay. Like what association with Getty images, I guess? Or?
Getty Oil. They were like pretty much the wealthiest family in the world.
Right.
The Gettys own this building?
No,
Okay.
it's just, I guess it's condo, so I assume the people
All
live there.
right. Yeah, because you mentioned about the
He was
Getty
friends
family.
with the Getty family.
Okay.
Henry, there.
San Francisco is so desperate for housing, we convert everything we can into home. This used to be a firehouse, now it's a private home. You can see they still have the pole here. So I don't know if the kids use that to slide down and go to school.
On Tuesday or
Other section.
and maybe today.
Not here, Russia.
Just a pit stop and then yes. I kind
Yeah,
of
here's Google Surveys.
Anyway, has anyone ever been inside an octagon house? Eight-sided house. This is the last remaining private octagon house in San Francisco. It was built in 1857. It survived the fire of 1906. It was recently sold for $5.5 million. Now, if you'd like to visit an octagon house, there is an octagon house museum near Fort Mason. You can actually tour it. It's open like 1 or 2 days a week. And it'll show you what it's like 150 years ago. These were considered trenches. Then people realized all that cross ventilation also meant no privacy. So they were now styled vertical. It's a nice idea.
ya.
Smaller, but it's pretty nice. You could probably almost make a day trip to take it there and get there. That's only if you're
Is anyone familiar with the book or movie or TV show Tales of the City?
Yes, me.
Okay, this was shot. It was a TV show based on newspaper articles of life in San Francisco. They was centered around a street called Barbary Lane, which was a takeoff on the Conjury Lane because the writer lived in this area. So basically, just outlined different people living in this neighborhood. So it's out on TV.
On
radio,
Netflix.
whatever.
It's on Netflix.
I'm sorry.
It's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix. It's not the greatest thing in the world. If you want to see what San Francisco looked like in the 70s, it was a good show. So we're going to walk. This is only 2 blocks long, so we'll walk the length of it. Every once in a while, I turn on a serial on Netflix, and of course, I get hooked, and I have to
Right?
watch all the other
Yeah.
episodes. Very addictive.
Where else did you? Oh, no. Okay.
That was my goal.
No, that's a good place to check out for sure. Oh, yeah. I never did, but I've heard of it.
When we get to Telegraph Hill, we're going to see a lot of homes that look like this. Those are pre-earthquake. This is after the earthquake and fire, not from 1910. The ones we see on Telegraph Hill go back to the 1850s. But this is what they'll look like. I tried looking this up online to find out what it's worth, but it's not listed. But I have spoken to someone living here, and he said it does get very dark and very low air at night, but it's a great location. As I said, location.
And do they have, would they like to build a taller house instead of these, or?
I think it's owned by the people that live here, so probably not. Probably costs more than it's worth. But yeah, I would think tear it down and build something. If they have, if they have enough. It's been in one family for like forever, so I guess they don't care. If they contact me, I'll suggest something. This is where I get to use my serious voice. From here to the bottom and the next block over is very uneven. So while you're enjoying the scenery, be sure to look where you're walking. Remember, this is America, no health insurance. You're on your own, so be careful.
Bond insurance.
Most people do.
Yeah.
In 18 years, I've seen like 3 or 4 people walk this way when I'm here.
Special day.
Have you been there?
No, I've only seen it when I was on the ferry.
Ah, okay.
Did you go there?
Yes. Night tour. I did the night tour, yeah.
You're brave.
It's not scary. There's like hundreds of you. Yeah. Wow.
And yes, there's a street sign here, so yes, this is a public street. Of course, it's not me at all. Back in about 8 years ago, on Super Bowl Sunday, a Bud Light truck got trapped on this hill. It jackknifed and had to be lifted up. So what that meant, I guess, is the people at the bars didn't get their Bud Light for the Super Bowl. And someone from Germany once asked me, is Bud Light considered beer in America? Not only is it considered beer, it is the best-selling beer. For 20 years in a row, it was the best-selling beer in America. It has since been taken over by Modelo. But otherwise, it's very popular. I'm not a beer drinker, so I don't know. But, yeah, of course, they're not supposed to be driving in these hills. Careful.
Do you drink a lot of Guinness and beer?
No. But you can tell Bud Light is nothing like Guinness. Bud Light is like so crossing.
Is that
I've seen a few months ago, somebody came up on a bicycle, went all the way to the top. As he went down, he said, "That's not very good." Went down from the bottom and did it again. Very impressive. And I think I mentioned at Broderick Street with 38%, you can watch a bicycle going up a 38% grade.
but back in the day when it snowed, people
Snowed?
Yeah. You said 76
Once.
months.
LA has had snow more recently than we have. No, 150 years ago, there wasn't a snowstorm. During the 1880s, the weather was crazy. That was a long time ago. Now, this is our weather here right now. And we do go years without rain.
Like I can add this after. It's getting all those Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
These houses are
So,
super
like, graduated
cute.
Yes.
So I want to travel time. Yeah, thanks.
So you also run it home and then start working immediately and continue.
It took like a bit of a break, just 6 hours, but basically like that.
You can stand here and not hear a sound, yet you can walk to the corner, pick up a bus, and be downtown in 10 minutes. That's how close you are to downtown.
And are there frequently apartments getting free on in the streets?
I'm sorry?
Are there frequently apartments on the
No,
market?
I'm sure not. These are mostly condos, and I'm sure they hold on to them forever.
Yeah.
You can always look online.
Oasis in the city.
But I've met some of the people here who are elderly, so maybe they're going to die off soon, but that's not all you can hope for. Sit here, meditate on the Buddha fountain, forget the fact you are a teenager American city. Once again, using my serious voice, this is extremely uneven. When it gets wet, it's very slippery. So be very careful, hold on while you're walking down. That's lots of color design this to keep people out. Does anybody think you'd actually like to live along this street? Anybody?
Yeah, definitely.
I think I do, yeah.
See, my hand will not go up here. It's too inconvenient. Nice place to visit. Too inconvenient. But if you like this, you're going to love Telegraph Hill. This is a mini version of Telegraph Hill.
You just mean like inconvenient in terms of the
Sorry?
walk up? Inconvenient in terms of the walk up, yeah.
Bringing
Yeah.
things in and so on. And when
Yeah,
it's wet,
right.
it
yeah,
gets
if you
very
got
slippery.
groceries, true.
I'm sorry?
If you got groceries or something,
Yeah, of course, if you live here, you can afford to have people deliver stuff to you.
right.
Or you stay fit by delivering it yourself.
What?
Or you stay fit when you get it up yourself.
That's what I tell myself when I carry groceries.
Yeah, moving furniture in.
Fortunately, the other side that we came in was relatively flat.
Yeah.
We get to Telegraph Hill, that's out the window. It's everywhere. Of course, they started here along with Lyft as well. So before we head down to North, we do one more slight tour. This is the public streets of Morocco. Drive to Mexico?
Yeah.
Because I'd like to visit New Mexico if I gave up my car or drive it years ago, so it's not as easy without a car.
Yeah, totally. No, it's worth because I mean, I'd only experienced it culturally through Breaking Bad before, and I was like, oh, I'll just be like
I've never seen that show, so I can't.
Yeah, but it was really pretty, especially the drive from New Mexico north to Colorado. That was
Gone from New Mexico to Colorado to Durango and Silverton and stuff.
yeah, that drive was.
Did you go to Durango and Silverton?
Yeah, so I ended up driving from Los Alamos, and I didn't know I was going through Durango, but I found out later.
I spent the week in Gallup, the Indian capital of the world, on work, not for desire.
Okay, yeah.
Anyway, so this is Redfield Alley. This is Marion Place, a different street, and again, be careful climbing. It's not going to be green.
So ja, dann war ich in Wisconsin für den 4th of July. Auch mit dann von der Familie.
Yeah, totally.
Ja, genau, das ist in Michigan. Also ein bisschen Nord, in der Mitte ein bisschen Südostsee. Also sehr Natur. Ja, stimmt. Ja, genau.
You can sit on the bench and have a nice view over Alcatraz. What? No, just tourists. They keep tourists. Actually, this weekend there was a flyover by Canadian jets, like the Blue Angels, is only a different version. And if you're not sure what to do this weekend, there's a website called SF Fun Cheap. Free and cheap things to do around the Bay Area. It's on the list. parked on the streets here. Maserati costs about the same as a house in America. It's one of the most expensive cars in the world, and they park it on the street. I used to have a cheap Toyota. I parked it on the street, and I had 100 things and dents every day.
It doesn't have a number.
The license plate?
Yeah.
Oh, you can pay extra to get a special license. You know, you have your name or whatever you want, as long as you pay it money for it. Almost feel like scratching a message in it. What are you, crazy? Anyway, we're leaving North Beach. Leaving Russian Hill, heading into North Beach. North Beach is the Italian section. So most of the people you see will probably be Chinese. Because Chinatown is moving into North Beach, just like in New York City. It's who made the merger. So for now, there'll be a very flat section from now.
Ist Vancouver dann und dann ist es durch?
Ja, genau. Also ich werde dann morgen werde ich 2 Tage nach Portland fahren und dann bin ich 2 Wochen in Vancouver.
Okay.
Okay, we're heading towards St. Peter and Hill. Unless they bring back Robin Williams, no, I'm not going to see it.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're bringing him back. Anyway, so we're heading down to North Beach, the Italian side.
Achso, ja, zweite Stadt ist aber genau, das kommt dann aber in den Deutschland. Ja, dann European.
Yeah. It's kind of 6 hours north or so. And it's just a national park. I mean, almost crazy in the world.
Ich weiß nicht, ob das bei dir dann so.
I got this before this. It's required to
Von der Uni damals zum Studieren. Ja. Also jetzt im Nachhinein war das eigentlich die beste Zeit von uns drin. Ja, weil du die Wohnung. Die ist super.
Anyway, do you compost where you live? Is there anyone that doesn't compost? Because we were, San Francisco's among the leaders in going green in terms of composting, recycling, and all sorts of other things like that.
Yeah, but
Ja, klar, also so, ja, also das wäre Location.
Aber also ich muss sagen, das war echt richtig viel. Holland ist so cool. Ich liebe das Land. Ja, so chillt. Ja.
Yeah, I wish they could. It's worth going. It's okay, so one more now.
See the woman on the mural over there? We'll
Yeah.
talk about her later.
Which I think was the yeah, okay. You can get some cool shots. Yeah. Honestly,
Immer dein Plan, mal in die Niederlassung zu studieren und dann wieder zu
bridge, I'd say more
Wusste ich weg
iconic
nach
than
dem
like the
Abi?
Eiffel Tower.
Hast du dann im Kopf
I like
Schweden,
it.
Frankreich oder
Because it's beautiful.
England, eventuell
Ja. Achso.
Like, well, but honestly, it's not that bad. And, yeah,
Ja, bei Holland dann so
really hardcore.
2 Stunden pro Woche entfernt, aber trotzdem eine komplett andere Welt.
Like, honestly, I recommend just installing the Wheels app. And, yeah. And then, you know, all the bikes we've seen, you can just ride them. It's not too expensive. It's, if you go non-electric, it's $4 for the first 30 minutes, and then 30 cents for every minute after. You gotta find a spot, yeah. But Google Maps is really good with that. If you just type in Bay Wheels on Google Maps, it'll show you all the locations. And it'll also say if it's full, so you know not to go there.
Does anyone need a restroom? If not, our next restroom will be in the Coit Tower, which is where we're heading next.
How long?
And if I look for me personally, if you need to,
That's where we're heading next.
you just put in and when you're like,
Coit Tower was a present from Lily Coit. This is a picture of Lily. She's what we would call a fire groupie. She hung out with firemen, chased after fires, wore fire regalia, played cards with them. And when she died, she left money to beautify the city. So people look at that and assume it's a fire hose. It's an Art Deco work of art, has no significance whatsoever.
Was she a firefighter herself?
No, her family home was saved by firemen, so she became a fire groupie. Okay.
I thought maybe at the time women were allowed to be
They
firefighters.
probably were.
Oh, okay.
So that's all changed in recent history. Yeah, probably that. In fact, there was a story. Well, let's see. Okay. That's right. So in the 1940s, a young black woman wanted to become a streetcar conductor. She applied for the job and was turned down by the city, saying it's a white man's job. She sued the city, claiming discrimination, and won the right for blacks and females to become streetcar conductors. She later married, changed her name to Maya Angelou, and became a world famous poet and actress. Started out as a streetcar conductor. So over the years, we've had several people fight to get out of the white man's system. Yeah. 1866, Mary Ellen Pleasant, the former slave, fought just for the right to ride a public streetcar. Because it was, again, she was told that white men owned it. So she won the right, and this was 90 years before Rosa Parks fought for the right to integrate public transit in Montgomery, Alabama. It's not that long ago. The first female grip person was only hired in 1997. Again, it was considered a white man's job. And that was 1997.
What is that? The purpose?
On the cable car. You know, it took strength, so it's a man's job. As a result of the pandemic, a lot of restaurants were forced to close. They were told they can open up if they served outside. So these are what we call parklets. They built these little things to serve people outside. And even though the pandemic's over, people liked it so much they kept them. There's always a line. So there's usually a line in front of the door for this one. This is North Beach, and we're leaving North Beach going up to Telegraph Hill. Our second. Oh, it's 3 hills.
Downtown is just right there. A few minute walk.
That's it?
Yeah.
I'll take one of these. I was trying to drink one at the same time. Anyway, so we went up that side of Focus. Now we're up this side. When we get to the top, let me know which shot you think is steeper. We'll take several stages to get up. So I said there are 4 things you must do to visit to San Francisco. Number 1 is ride the cable car. Number 2, visit Alcatraz. Has anyone done the tour yet?
No.
It's very good. Which one did you do? The regular day tour? There are 3 tours now: a day tour, a night tour, which is slightly better, and a behind-the-scenes tour, which is even more complete. But they're all good. And just remember, if you go there, it will be cold, colder than here. And you might encounter this guy, even though they're not the sharks are not supposed to be in the bay. This guy came in anyway. You also might encounter this guy who goes out swimming in the bay in speedos. He's in his 90s, or he was in his 90s. He's probably, this is an old picture. Or you might encounter this guy who swam across the bay, Jake.
The dog.
The dog. You can watch him online under Jake Swims Alcatraz. Or you can go back many, many years ago and watch Blackie, the Wonder Horse, swim the bay. Or you can do it yourself, but it's not recommended. People have died making him swim. In fact, the reason for Alcatraz was they figured that nobody could escape because they would die, which some people did escape and die trying to make the swim. It's an excellent tour.
But you have to book it in advance.
Usually in the summer you have to book in advance, yes.
Because I missed that out.
Although sometimes there are tickets available, and they also have a combined tour, Alcatraz and Angel Island, which is usually available, but you're paying double because there's 2 tours combined.
How long is the tour for?
We have typically 3 hours. You can spend as much time there as you like, but usually people spend around 3 hours there. I volunteer for them and they're hunting. Self-help for the elderly. So let's see, we talked about Alcatraz, we talked about the cable car, what else? The giant trees. California, Northern California, is the tallest, biggest, and oldest trees in the world. The tallest trees are the redwoods that hug the coast north of here. Some of them are 800 years old and 125 meters tall. And the closest ones are the Muir Woods, which are about 10 miles or 18 kilometers north of here. Typically, you get there by car or by tour. Has anyone done any of that tour? Anyway, again, the redwoods don't exist anywhere else on Earth. The biggest trees are the sequoias that can be 10 meters around, 2,000 years old. They're in the mountains near Yosemite. Again, you get there either by driving or by tour. The oldest trees are the ancient bristlecone pine trees behind the sequoias. Some of them are over 5,000 years old. They predate the pyramids of Egypt, and they're still alive, still growing. If you like really old trees, you can visit Napa, the petrified forest. Some of the trees are over 1 million years old, but they're not living anymore. They're petrified, but they still look like trees. Anyway, so that's only here in Northern California. Also, if you drive down towards San Diego, you may pass the Changa oak tree. It's 2,000 years old. People drive by thinking it's a forest. It's a single tree.
Oh.
So again, only in California.
Everything's bigger in the States.
Yeah, well, that's Texas, I think. So,
Oh, yeah. But the States, too.
Yeah. Especially the population keeps getting bigger and bigger. These hills keep getting steeper and steeper, at least I'm getting
Right.
older and older.
More than Europe, I guess. Yeah, in Canada, I would say it's sort of like halfway between the States and Europe. But, yeah, closer to the States. Yeah.
I don't think I asked you to imagine you're 9 years old and you live here. And you don't drive. I have a friend who went to elementary school here. He said the biggest problem I had is that they were playing kickball and the ball went over his head. Also, Street Bridge is the most beautiful bridge in the world. You'll have to take my word for it. It is beautiful when it comes out of fog. It's there. The fog lifts and it's up there. There is a movie out called The Bridge, and in San Francisco, if someone says The Bridge, they mean the Golden Gate Bridge. It's not a happy movie though, it's about the fact that 20 to 30 people a year jump off the bridge. They are in the process of building a net under the bridge, spending $100 million to do so, to catch people. I would spend $100 million on mental health services, but that's me.
Did they do that? Oh, that was just
It's in there. As far as I know, it's in the works.
Yeah, I think I saw the construction on it yesterday. I was wondering what was going on.
It'll probably take a long time to do though.
Yeah. I mean, where there's a will.
Jump over here. It's not. There's no net.
Yeah, like it doesn't solve it.
No, it doesn't.
There's
If you
other
were going to
ways.
do that, they'll find a way. Yeah. It's only $100 million. So.
Yeah. I mean, you could just pick this building or whatever. Like, good view.
You can finally almost see the bridge.
And the bridge has also survived the earthquake.
Yes.
It's also incredible.
And it's been retrofitted since then. Now, in the movie The Bridge, they interview someone who jumped off the bridge and lived, and his comment was, as soon as I let go, I knew it was a mistake. A number of people have lived, been seriously injured, but have lived. Most people have died.
So the fall is that high, that the impact with the water.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like hitting a brick wall when you
Yeah.
jump from that.
Okay, I didn't realize it was that high.
It's 200 feet. It varies as the tide goes up and down. One guy jumped, hit the water, and there was a boat right next to him, so they just picked him up and they saved him.
Wow.
So in 1997, there was nothing here but a little cabin, just like the one we saw in the Condrey Lane. They tore it down to make way for new housing. 25 years later, these 3 homes were built. This was empty for 25 years.
Oh God.
Prime real estate on top of Telegraph Hill. The homes went for about $8 or $9 million each. And why they weren't built before, I don't know. can't tell it with the blinds closed, but this is a beautiful home with one small defect. It has a great view of the wrong bridge. Everybody wants to go to Gate Bridge, they have a view of the right bridge. Otherwise, it's beautiful. They dug a tunnel through the island when they built the Bay Bridge, which is actually two bridges with a tunnel between them. The bridge on the other side was damaged in 1989, so they replaced it. The one over here is original from 1936. In fact, several years ago, a tanker came in and hit one of the piers and dropped 50,000 gallons of oil and a lot of wildlife. What's ironic is there are only a handful of people allowed to bring big ships into the bay. They're specifically trained Bay Harbor pilots who know how to get through the bay without hitting anything. They have one job only. They don't hit anything. He screwed up. He lost his job, and they make like $500,000. So when they dug the tunnel through the bridges, they dumped the dirt in the bay, creating a man-made island called Treasure Island. In 1939, there was a World's Fair there. Another good year for a World's Fair. Then it became a Navy base, then it became an airport. Now they're turning it into a small community, along with Europe, where there was lots of town and compared to San Francisco, their space.
Do people pay like a pretty big premium?
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Great views. I mean,
I've known
I
that.
went to a restaurant over there yesterday.
Okay. Yeah, they'll be listed on Zillow or whatever soon.
Yeah. I mean, there are people living there already. So.
Okay.
Previously, there were some army barracks that were being used for low-income people. It's like it's been
Right.
around York. I don't know if they're still there.
Yeah.
So, as I said, this was a pressing from Louis Coit. In the old days, people used to like going to the top, but for a year or two now, the elevator's not working. So there's a sign. You still have to pay $10 to go up. You have to walk up 234 steps. We're not doing that, obviously. You can do that on your own. But we will do a quick walkthrough. This was built in 1933 during the Great Depression. At the time, the federal government was paying people to do various jobs, like building bridges and dams and writing plays and painting murals. So inside are 26 murals paid for by the federal government as a make-work project. The theme is everyday working life in California, and the style is the style of Diego Rivera. Is anyone familiar with Diego Rivera? Husband of Frida Kahlo? Anyway, it's his style, not that his paintings are here, but it's his style. As I said, the theme is everyday working life in California. The best preserved murals are up the staircase because for years nobody could go up there. So the ones we'll see have been fading and they're not in great shape. But it'll give you an example of what was on here. And because the 30s was a radical time for American labor, so the painters threw some communist symbols into the paintings. Most of them were torn up because Americans hate communists. 2 of them remain, I'll point those out. So it's probably the only place in America where the federal government paid to have people put up communist symbols. And they're still there.
How was the architect called again?
Diego Rivera. He's an artist. He didn't do the murals here. They're the style out. And he has 2 murals around town. There's a water fountain here. There are restrooms inside. These will be the last public restrooms for a while. Non-white faces except here and there. But that in the 30s, non-whites were considered not people, so everything is white based back then.
Excuse me. There's a movie about Frida with her husband. It's called Frida.
Oh, okay. From 2002. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Everything in the mural is basically he's reaching for Karl Marx's Capital. CWA is the Highest Workers Association. Books are from Russia. And he also refers to the destruction of Rivera fresco. In New York City, the Rockefeller family hired Diego Rivera to paint the mural. He put in a picture of Vladimir Lenin and the Rockefeller family destroyed the mural. So that's an actual name.
Why do they say thousands slaughtered in Austria? Does it here at the top?
This was in the 1930s when the Nazis were rising at that time. Those of you staying at the shore base of Hostel, behind the hostel there's a statue by Benny Bufano of Madonna and children. They refer to the statue of St. Francis. He was a local artist. Everyday working life in California. I'm kidding. Anyway, Engine Company 5 was the one Lloyd Coit hung out with. And you know some people dress with hats, furs, very formal. Not anymore. Everything's extremely casual. Even when the downtown was busy, you didn't see a lot of suits and ties. Here they show the Daily Worker, which was the communist newspaper. So this pays tribute to California as the agricultural capital of America, which it still is. Every section of California is famous for something. Oranges, apricots, almonds, grapes, wine, and we still are the leading capital. However, you notice the faces are white. If you go out to the fields now, you won't see a lot of white faces. Back in the 1930s, a lot of whites came from the Midwest and South during the Depression looking for work. So there were actually a lot of white people in the fields. If you remember the book Grapes of Wrath, that feature. Now you won't see a lot of white. wine-growing region in America. Premier wine-growing. Also,
all the way around to the back. Ticket is that way all the way around to the back. What ticket is free to walk around down here?
We're going down to Levi's Plaza. We'll take a break there. We used to go inside, see their museum, use their restrooms, but everything's closed. It's a pandemic. Everything's closed. Anyway, let's. Actually trim some of the trees so people could actually have a view. Because for a long time the trees were blocking the view. And there used to be a statue of Christopher Columbus right here.
Oh yeah, that's
Like
long
everywhere else in
gone,
America, he's gone.
Yeah.
He was not a nice person. He came to America and tried to convert the Indians, and they didn't want to be converted, so he slaughtered them. Like a lot of other big conquerors, explorers.
Yeah. A lot of death.
And yet Columbus Avenue is still Columbus. They haven't changed that.
That's gone probably.
I'm using waterfront here too.
Statue is just on that like hexagon.
Yeah, yeah.
You gotta put something else.
I don't know where. It's probably in storage somewhere.
Yeah.
There's another statue downtown near the library. California pioneers standing over a Native American. When I saw it, I said, oh, they're going to remove that one. It's gone too. Which makes sense.
That one's especially bad. Like Columbus, it's like debatable.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
I mean,
it's part of history.
you're not
but
rewriting history, but you don't have to honor people if they were not nice people.
Yeah.
I was actually been wanting to come here.
So it's one thing if it's being used as a history, another thing if it's being used to
Yeah,
pay
that's-
tribute.
As in like rain or just being too cold?
Yeah, never too cold, too hot.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah.
19
Yeah.
degrees.
Yeah, I was surprised how cold it was here.
Yeah, most people are. That's why they buy sweatshirts here. So
Yeah, I brought one.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, people come to California. Oh, California in the summer, sunshine, shorts, beaches. No, that's Southern California. It's approximately 400 steps down. It's probably my favorite neighborhood to visit, and you'll see why. So as you're going down, again, the staircase. Imagine you live here, on the stair, somewhere along the staircase.
Yeah, it's 3 to 6
Excuse
4 to
me.
7, right?
Yeah, so, well, it's 12 to 3 and then 3 to 6. So,
So there are actually two staircases here, the Greenwich and the Filbert. The Filbert is probably the longest staircase in town and probably the most popular. You will see people going up one staircase and down the other. We're just going down. We're not going up. as we go down the eastern side, it will get warmer. Still get over seeing nobody driving it. So once again, going down, these are public streets, private gardens.
Where are the parrots?
Sorry?
The parrots? The parrots of Telegraph Hill.
We hear them over in Fort Mason morning. I don't normally see them over here.
Okay.
My favorite plants are the angel's trumpet. You'll see them in different colors all up and down Telegraph Hill. They open and close throughout the year. They're beautiful, but I would not try eating them because they're related to the belladonna plant and they're poisonous. So again, you'll see them closed and open throughout the year. Of course, the bougainvillea is very
Can I ask you for a picture?
Of course.
In front of you?
Excuse me.
Thank you. Or maybe I'll go with the last one. Yeah.
probably won't reopen because it's getting there. It was actually featured in the movie House on Telegraph Hill, and I'm probably the only person in the world that saw the movie just because I felt I had to. So it is that was the house on Telegraph Hill. The movie was probably shot in Los Angeles, but they opened it showing that house on Telegraph Hill. Not a great movie, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. However, there is a movie called Dark Passage that was shot here and all over San Francisco. If you'd like to know what San Francisco looked like in the 1940s, rent the movie Dark Passage, starring Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall, a film noir. He played a convict that came here to live with Lauren Bacall, and it shows what San Francisco looked like in the 1940s. Nothing was there back then. Everything's been planted since then. So again, Dark Passage, not a bad movie.
Some other Germans in Yosemite, and they were saying that, like, in their school system, you can either choose to learn French or Spanish.
Or Latin.
Oh yeah, they said that too.
Yeah, that's the so to start with English in third grade was obligatory.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
And then in sixth grade you can choose from the three.
Right.
And then third grade.
Pretty cool.
So do you see the pole with the outcropping where it's holding up the tree?
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so that tree was slated to be torn down because it was blocking traffic. So people rose up in protest saying you can't cut down a tree. So they lopped off the branch, built the outcropping, dropped the tree up, and $110,000 later the tree was saved. But that's nothing compared to what else they've done. They mentioned that they spent $500,000 this year studying trash cans, not buying them, studying them to see which ones would work best. But that's nothing compared to what they said they would do. They were going to build a single stall toilet in one of the parks that we already own. A one stall toilet, estimated price $1.7 million. You could buy a house in Russian Hill for that much money. So people were outraged when they heard that a company from Nevada came along and said, we'll donate everything. And they said, well, we'll have to consider. Well, they eventually took the offer, and it ended up costing the city only $200,000 instead of $1.7 million.
Is that just because, like, the
What?
plumbing? Like, why is it so expensive? Just the plumbing requirements?
Plans, plumbing, so
Yeah, okay.
call the city and ask them.
Yeah, okay.
That's what people were wondering. Why? In fact, after the toilet was installed, it became a tourist site. People went there to take
Right,
photos
yeah.
of the $1.7 million toilet.
Yeah. To say you used it too. It's,
What?
To say you used like a $1 million toilet.
Yeah. Want to read the plaque? And here's some more Angel's Trumpet in a different color. So if you read the plaque, so in the 1940s, this whole area was just dirt, and it was being used. This area was being used as a garbage dump. A local woman, Grace Marchand, got permission to burn the garbage. It took her 3 days, and she started planting the gardens that have been maintained by volunteers ever since, and they're among the nicest in all of San Francisco. So, also as you walk down, you're going to see a lot of homes that are pre-earthquake. If you remember the red map I showed you with one white area, that's where we are now. A lot of homes here survived the fire of 1906, partly because they were isolated from the rest of the city, partly because the people living here were Italian fishermen that had homemade wine, and when the water mains broke, they were actually able to dunk their sheets and towels in the wine and use that to put out any fires. So there are a lot of homes here that are pre-earthquake, and I'll point some of them out to you. Very creative use of wine. Hopefully they celebrated with wine when it was over. So this is still considered a high-risk fire area, so there are high-pressure hydrants and fire equipment up and down the hill.
I'm not sure, but I think like out west, Alberta would be a
asking about the parrots?
Yes.
I think the ones you hear are most of the parrots.
Maybe some of the newer ones that they've remodeled recently, but you know, the climate in San Francisco tends to be pretty mild. This is actually a very warm. This is about as nice as it is.
So these two homes are
beautiful.
pre-earthquake, and the way you can tell is they're covered with the wide redwood planking. They stopped using that after the fire. So when you see a home that looks like this, it's typically pre-earthquake, prior to 1906. So this plaque pays tribute to the volunteers who maintain this. And there were years when we were having a drought where the gardens were very bleak, but now they're in good shape.
Good morning.
Anyway, the sign says private homes, and we know this is a public street, so we're going in. According to the owner, this is the second oldest home in San Francisco from 1852. And the reason I know that, I was standing here talking once and the owners came out and they gave us a tour. It's actually
wow.
3 levels, so it's bigger than it looks, with a big panoramic window in the background. And they actually live in Carmel. This is the second home for them. And I even know what in 2012, I believe they paid $800,000 for this as a fixer-upper. So some of these homes date from the 1850s, and you can imagine what it was like then to bring all the building materials up here, because in the old days there wasn't a staircase, it was more like a ladder. In fact, this is what Telegraph Hill looked like in the old days. It was not a desirable area back then. It was working class. Now, of course, it's upscale. Yeah. Anybody think you'd like to live here? No, too inconvenient. Again, every time you need something, it's 100 steps down or 100 steps up. And of course, nowadays you can get everything delivered, but still, if you like to get out of the gateway, it's inconvenient. It's a nice place to visit.
When you're out there, you need a nature.
Yeah, I've seen nature.
Been there.
No, it's a very nice place to visit. But I would not- If everyone wanted to live here, then the price would go up. Can you imagine though, what the effort it was to build all this
Oh,
in
yeah.
1850s? Anyway, as the sign said, there is no back exit, so we'll go out the same way we go in. Now we're going to go down to Levi's Plaza. We'll take a break there. In the old days, we would use Levi's for the restrooms and so on, but not anymore. But there's a, I'll point out what's there now.
It's good, yeah. Honestly, it's gotten worse, I'd say. It's still good. I don't think it's as good as Germany. Like, I think Germany's very good, right? Yeah, I think it's the way things go. Like,
What do you think is the reason?
well, in Canada, what's happening now is, like, I don't know if you guys have this in Germany, but when you get to, like, I don't know, by the time, like, people are teenagers, like, some people will choose, like, tougher subjects,
Yeah.
and some people will choose, like, easier, just, you know, depending on the district. So, like, we have two different, like, things you can go down for math. We say there's the academic math or flat math, and it's just for people who are in math grades, which I think is good, but they're removing that now.
That you can put the tougher
Yeah.
class.
They're putting everyone in the same courses.
Oh, really? But why do they do that?
They're saying it's, like, I'm dumbing down the argument a bit, but they're saying it's basically racist to do that. When they basically, when they look at the outcomes, they're like, okay, these minorities, non-white nations, they end up in the easier stream than their economic aspects.
Because they don't trust themselves enough.
It's a lot of reasons.
This is where they have to bring their garbage.
Like lack of family support too, I guess.
The mailman will deliver, UPS delivers garbage window.
But I just
Excuse
wonder,
me?
like, what happens to the super smart when they have to take math courses
Yeah,
at this low level?
a lot of them
Like,
will be stuck in that class with the people who are struggling a lot more, and because of that, that kind of holds them back, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because in Germany we have 3 different schools. We have one, they have different degrees of difficulty.
Yeah.
So half of the students go to the most difficult one that enables you to go to university. And yeah, so I would say in that school maths classes are of course already a bit like tougher.
Yeah, they go faster. Yeah.
Yeah. But,
Like, yeah, in well, in Canada, each province does its own thing. So it's Ontario specifically that I know it's being done.
yeah.
And well, teachers have to deal with that too. It's a struggle because
Yeah.
they're only one
So
person.
several
or it's
years
like
ago,
100 times
so on
faster.
Amazon bought stuff here. So what I think happened is the guy looked up and said, "Yeah, I'm not paid enough to deliver this," and tossed it. Anyway, one final story before we leave Telegraph Hill. About 10 years ago, actually more than that, late at night, somebody was trying to break into a car on Telegraph Hill. The police were called. Quick thinking, the guy jumped over the ledge to get away from him, and that was the last thing he ever did. He left behind a wife and child. As they say, look before you leave. I'm not sure you know for leaving Telegraph Hill.
But then I would say in Germany, the same way that they want to get rid of this free school system.
Yeah.
They want to put more people in one class, and also, yeah, I think it's not that good.
No, like the intentions might be good.
Yeah, they think that
Sometimes,
the very
but-
good shall help the bad ones.
Yeah, but it doesn't work that way.
No.
It holds everyone back.
Because I remember in my, I took a math A level in high school, like the tougher class.
Yeah.
And I had 2 super smart students in the class. And I just imagine when they're like in a class where there's no such high
Yeah.
level, I would.
List of things to do and things not to do.
Teachers.
This is a list of things to do and things not to do, as well as a lot of other information. In the back, I mentioned some of the things we talked about, just so you know, you can jog your memory. So we're at Levi's Plaza. Here is on this corner, there's a supermarket. Across the street is a Starbucks, which obviously Starbucks has. You can ask, if you go into Starbucks, ask them where the nearest public restrooms are. They say Levi's is closed to the public now. For years we used to Levi's, but not anymore. Anyway, we'll meet right in the middle of this little plaza here in about 15 minutes or so, 15, 20, whatever. If you're not here by 5 o'clock, Anyway, so this is your break. If you have any questions about the list, I'll be glad.
You don't want it?
I don't see anyone working.
I know, it's Friday. Usually they work from Tuesday. They go to the office from Tuesday to Thursday. And then working from home Mondays and Fridays. How about in Germany?
So yeah, during COVID there was a lot of remote work. I think a lot of people went back to going to the office. So
They went back?
yeah, to the office. I think
When did that start?
with the home.
No, like when they went back to...
I think maybe like when COVID ended a bit, like maybe 2022 or something.
Okay. Are they reporting to like the office now, or it's still hybrid?
I think for a lot of people it's still hybrid. Maybe one day remote,
Okay.
but I think most people will go to the office.
Yeah.
I was taking a walking tour in Charlotte, Virginia, I'm sorry. And the guide pointed to this and asked if anyone knew what it was. Being from San Francisco, I was the only one that did. Earthquake retrofitting. So if you ever take a tour and see something like this, now you know. They put steel rods through the building to brace it.
I've talked to some Americans and they said to me that during or after COVID a lot has changed.
Yeah, especially here in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
because this is considered as the tech capital.
Yeah.
Like it's mostly like tech work.
Which they can do from home.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, you add this layer, and all of us had no idea, but in the end we learned all together, and it was really, really cool. Yeah. And also every night to cook together, and to chill,
One of my
and play
favorite people in
games.
San
It was really
Francisco,
cool.
Philo T. Farnsworth. I love that name. He was a 21-year-old Idaho farm boy. He came to San Francisco and invented television, and no one's ever heard of him. He never made a dime from it because RCA stole the patent from him. But he had the privilege of knowing in 1969 the whole world could watch men walk on the moon because of his invention. So this was where his studio was.
Oh.
We're standing here talking about one of my favorite people when we mentioned another favorite of mine, a man named Joshua Norton, who came to San Francisco in the 1850s. He made a fortune. He lost his fortune, so he left and came back 10 years later as Emperor Norton I, Emperor of the United States and Protector of Mexico. So his uniform was paid for, his meals were paid for, his rent was paid for. If he needed money, he would go to the banks and tax them. Or he would print his own currency and sell it or hand it out to people for doing good deeds. When he went to the theater with his dogs Bummer and Lazarus, and yes, there is a plaque to Bummer and Lazarus, he got the best seats in the house for free, and his entrance was announced and the audience rose when he entered. He issued proclamations that would appear on the front pages of all the newspapers, such as build a bridge to Oakland, which came true, build a tunnel to Oakland for trains, that also came true, set up a League of Nations, that also came true here in San Francisco. Ban use of the word Frisco, maybe that one hasn't come true. Let's see what. Now it just went blank, don't mind. Anyway, I like the story of Emperor Norton because it's kind of symbolic of San Francisco, a place where people come to start over, to reinvent themselves, to be different. Here he's a hero. Everywhere else he'd be locked up as a loony. And when he died, 20,000 people showed up for his funeral. And his tombstone reads Emperor Norton I. And just recently, finally, the city named a street after Emperor Norton after all these years. Right up here, now, 17 years ago, when it rained, the whole hill came down. But that's typical in California. When it rains, the hills collapse. Pacific Coast Highway is frequently closed because of that. And it also affects houses. 3 apartment buildings in Pacifica were torn down because the land below them was just eroding away and they were going to collapse anyway.
Is it because the hills are fake, or
It's
you said
because
it was
of
just
the kind of land there and also the water and yeah.
bit of
I mean, there is some, obviously this is solid rock, but there are areas where it's not.
that's nice.
But people still like living on the hills.
Living on the edge.
And I guess if you can afford to build there, you can afford to rebuild.
Oh, no, no, that's for mail. Yeah, I know. Yeah. That one is good.
But when I was in Spain to see my friend, I was so lost. Oh yeah? I was so used to being in front of being able to read
Yeah.
so strange. That's so stupid.
I used to live in San Francisco, but now I live in Berkeley.
In Brooklyn.
Yeah. You know where it is? It's really close here. Just one. One. Yeah.
Berkeley is famous for the university, right?
Yes. Have you been there?
I've been here since Monday.
Have you been to Berkeley? Are you planning?
No, I don't.
It's just it's just a train, like one train right away. Yeah.
And then, but is it worth it?
If you just want to see the university, yeah, to the downtown.
Financial district is straight ahead. So literally you could live over on Telegraph Hill and walk to the financial district.
Yeah.
So this is Broadway, which would be considered a 100-ton street, nightlife strip club. However, as a result of the pandemic, much of that is closed. So this looks like not a war zone, but a war
Yeah.
zone. It's pretty
Right.
empty. Hasn't come back yet. So have you all been to New York City yet? Some of you have?
Yeah.
You can still tell people you saw the Empire State Building.
Oh, right there. No, right here. Right there.
Right through here. So, for years I walked by here and finally I look up and so I was like, what the hell is that? Now the builders claim it's not the Empire State Building. It's a generic Art Deco skyscraper from the 1930s. When they first put it up, they put a King Kong on top. Actually, the name of the builders is going to be Empire. That's why they did that. If you like seeing replicas, go to Las Vegas. They have everything.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Coit Tower is a French American building, which is over 60 years old now. When it was first built, it was hated. Now, of course, it's become if you go downtown, you see the hideous Salesforce Tower. It's hated now, but given the recovered yet. Probably slowly recovering most of the business. I don't know.
Like today, it's a battle place, the French. Are you talking about the French festival?
Yeah, there's some.
Yeah, today.
There's several things.
Right.
Check out SF Fun Chic. They list some of the events.
From 4:30 to 9.
Whereas like even though Dropbox, I think the money originates in
Another jazz fan. So the green building, besides being a beautiful Flatiron building, is the headquarters for French movie studios, Zoetrope Film. We have The Godfather, Apocalypse Now, uncle of Nicolas Cage. He actually lives up in Sonoma where he has a winery. And he also started a food pantry right near there, serving people in the North Beach area. And across the street there used to be a place called the Lusty Lady Theater, which billed itself as the only employee-owned strip club in the world. And when their merger actually owned it and operated it. The problem is with free internet porn, people stopped going to strip clubs, so they went out of business. It was a nice idea. If you'd like to learn more about it, you can online on the Live New Girls Night or the Lusties. This used to be a very popular jazz club called Enrico's for many years, but that's long gone. Does anyone remember the 1950s? Anyone? Anyway, there's your guest. 1950s in America was very different from now. Everything was rigidly controlled. The clothes you wear, the books you read, the movies you saw, the words you used, everything was controlled. There was a famous comedian named Lenny Bruce who would be arrested for using obscenities act, even though those words nowadays you can hear at the kindergarten school. He was arrested several times. People were arrested. For example, Lawrence Ferlinghetti published a book by Allen Ginsberg called Howl, which I have copies here, and they were both arrested for obscenity but later acquitted. Now, by that happening, it kind of opened the door to all the other books and movies and TV shows of the future. Nowadays, of course, anything goes. You're welcome to come in and watch.
Hi. Thank you.
But they're not well remembered now. They were important because, as I said, they led the way to all the other movements of the 60s, the free speech, anti-war, gay rights, women's rights, etc. So this museum is dedicated to the beat poets. Now, the gift shop, of course, is free to enter. The museum does charge, but you can do that on your own. Is anyone familiar with any of the writings like Naked Lunch, Howl? As I said, they're not well known now, but they were important in what they did.
Thank you.
She wants us to go on so we can buy something. Is anybody familiar with the English artist by the name of Banksy? Banksy? That's a Banksy. If you don't know it, Banksy is an English artist, unknown, who goes around the world painting murals illegally. We're not sure if there's a Banksy or several Banksys or no Banksys, but his murals have sold for like $1 million. For example, just recently, he sold a painting at auction for $1 million. As soon as it was sold, it was shredded. This was on a house in Haight-Ashbury. They took the wall off the house, sent it to a gallery on Union Square. I asked the manager in the gallery how much. He said the owner turned down an offer of $2 million. And then the painting was sent on tour. So Banksy is not well known in America, but in England and New York he's fairly well known. Several years ago in Bristol, they had a Banksy theme park. Anyway, so I never heard of Banksy until people said, "Oh, that's a Banksy." So now I know who Banksy is. There used to be several murals in town, but they were all taken over. So if Banksy paints a mural in your house, you don't call the police, you call the another underground artist named Keith Haring. Is anyone familiar with Keith Haring? started out spray painting subways in New York. He created a very iconic style. When he died, he left behind an estate worth $20 million. So those of you considering career choices, underground artist might be a good option. And he has a painting, a sculpture in Grace Cathedral, which apparently this weekend is going to be open to the public. So we'll talk about that later when we get there. Now you know if something is on a plaque, it has to be true, right?
Bottomless.
Well, so this is a picture of Carol Doda in her prime, surgically enhanced. She would stand on the piano that was hanging from the ceiling. The piano would be lowered. She would do her act, and then the piano would be raised. And people said she wasn't a very good dancer, but nobody seemed to care. Her best year, she said, was in 1964, because that was the year the Republican convention was in San Francisco. Now, but that's not even the interesting story. One night after hours, a bouncer was having sex with a stripper on the piano. Somehow the lever got pushed, the piano went up. The next day they were discovered. He was trapped and she was dead. They say she died with a smile on her face. Sometimes truth is stranger than fiction. Crushed.
I thought they spent the night.
What?
I thought they spent the night on top of the piano.
They did, but the piano went up and they must have been drunk not to realize it was moving. Anyway, sometimes truth is stranger than fiction. But when I first heard this, I thought it was just an urban legend. It's actually an absolutely true story. If you'd like to learn more about it, you can go online under the Condor Club, or go online under Sex on the Piano, the name of a drink they made in his memory. And they still have a piano in here now, but now it's just for show. They don't use it. And they do have entertainment at night, different types of shows and stuff. Garlic. The next block is the Stinking Rose, everything garlic. If you do nothing else, go there for the garlic ice cream. They give you a big portion so you can share.
Is it delicious? Or?
It's worth that trying.
Okay.
So I told you all the buildings on this side of town were destroyed in the fire of 1906. Not this one, from 1861, the oldest bar in town. It's been ongoing ever since. And at night, right now, it's a very popular blues bar. It actually looks kind of like it did 150 years ago. The exception being in the old days, they would have a trough in front of the bar where the men could relieve themselves. That's long gone. Anyway, if you'd like to look inside, they're kind of used to having tourists go up at them.
Yeah.
As I said, it's a popular blues bar at night. If you're familiar with the film Godfather, allegedly Francis Ford Coppola was sitting in Cafe Trieste when he wrote The Godfather. That's one of the older films. They play music at night as well.
Like for instance, you go all over to the big island.
The guy who owns that gave me this decal. We already talked about it. Use of the word Frisco. If you're in the Hells Angels, you can use the word Frisco. Anyway, so we're leaving North Beach, heading into Chinatown.
Nothing ever stopped.
This street also looks
This is a work of art. These are books. These are words that flew off the pages. What does it mean? I don't know. It's a work of art. You can read about it on the site. This is dedicated to the jazz district that was North Beach. The time is dedicated to Chinatown. And there's a festival, I think it's this weekend in Chinatown also.
Yeah, it's later today. Oh, okay.
There's nothing there but the piano, so it's nice to be involved in it. During the day, nothing's going on. I know a couple of tour guides that pride themselves on how many people they can leave behind. I don't know. Welcome to Chinatown, the oldest and largest outside of Asia. You'll see things in Chinatown you won't see in the rest of San Francisco. You'll see things in Chinatown you won't see in China. And you'll see things in Chinatown you might not want to see. And everything is cheap. So there are two main streets, Grant and Stockton. Grant is typically the tourist crap. Stockton is primarily where the big shopping.
If they're going to walk alone.
So one of the things you'll see in Chinatown, you won't see in the rest of San Francisco, people putting their laundry out. In American cities, you put your laundry out where people can see it. You're telling the world this is a slum. It's prohibited in most places. Wherever I've lived, it's prohibited. Breaking your papers. When I was in LA, I had a condo in the Hollywood Hills. My neighbor put a towel on the balcony and got a letter from the condo association saying, don't do that. But in Chinatown, they're poor, their places are crowded, they don't have room to dry, so they put their stuff out. It makes ecological sense in California, but we don't have to make sense where we're. So this is where you'll see this. You won't see it elsewhere. Maybe in the Mission District you might. So this is one of the places where you can still buy a live chicken to take home with you. It's not a pet store. So other stores around you can buy rabbits, frogs, toads, tortoises, turtles. And again, this is traditional in Chinatown and American general. Not what people get in the stuff. By the way, is anyone a vegetarian? Not yet. We'll work on it. But again, as I said, this was traditional in Chinatown. There's still a lot of stores in San Francisco, Chinatown, where you can go and they'll tell you what herbal remedies to take for your ailment. And it's traditional Chinese herbal remedies. There used to be one of them. 2 people bought wolfbane there and died as a result. So that store closed. Oh, no, but there's still lots of stores where you can buy traditional Chinese herbal remedies.
Is that recently?
Within the last few years, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Then again, people have died after eating Jack in the Box or Chipotle.
No way.
So one of the things you'll see in Chinatown, you might not see elsewhere, is something called durian. Is anyone familiar with durian? Yeah.
I love it.
Okay, it's also called stinky fruit. And you've had it? Say, I've never had it. I've had its cousin jackfruit, but not the stinky fruit. Now, if you're not familiar, apparently it smells really bad, and you can't open it up in public.
Or people who like it will think it smells amazing.
Yeah. Anyway, just to let you know how stinky. This is a picture of a very young Justin Bieber reacting to stinky fruit. Anyway, but this store usually sells that or jackfruit, as well as a lot of other. There's something called Buddha's hand. It looks like this. It's yellow. It's used for zesting. Are you familiar with that?
What is happening?
It's called Buddha's hand, and it's used for zesting. So then you can point out other things that we.
To na kraji. Akorát, že to není to už je prostě na kraji. Tady to je lepší.
I said, Grant Street is traditionally known for selling a lot of cheap crap to tourists, as you'll see along there. Promoting this.
Lucky cat. I don't know.
It's sharing fortune.
Okay.
I thought it was smiling or waving. No, it's sharing fortune. You'll see it all. That. You'll see it. You see there's a line forming here. I'll explain what the line is. So this is the Golden Gate Bakery. It actually closed several years ago, but they open occasionally, and they feature custard tarts. Lots of stores in Chinatown feature custard tarts. This is where they line up for custard tarts, though. So whenever they're open, there's a line.
And you know they're open if there's a line.
Well, you also can see the door is open. Then sometimes there's a sign. Sometimes they'll list a time. Sometimes they list a phone number saying call to find out when we're open. Now, other stores sell exactly the same thing, but this is where they line up for. If you like sitting in lines, I can give you a number of restaurants to go to. I don't like sitting. Moon, they sell moon cakes more than not the custard tarts, but the moon cakes. Time T-shirts for $10.99. Everything is cheap. Now, if you'd like to have lunch or dinner surrounded by pictures of President Obama, go down to the Great Eastern on the next block. It's not that it's any better or worse than anywhere else, but that's where he went to have eaten China. Now you see all the architectural features on the roofs and so on. That's all crap. Chinatown did not look like this prior to the earthquake. After it was destroyed, they hired a white architect to come in and design Chinatown to look like what white people think it should look like. So that's why you have all these Chinese touches.
因為嗰啲嘢咧係千邊文化嚟嘅，都有都唔知啊妹妹嗰時呢佢話佢都唔幫忙，佢話我知佢有地方擺。
They had a guy get mad and cut them off in the Waymo, and the Waymo pulled over and called customers. Well, it started driving again. But yeah, I guess the car actually
two most popular spots in Chinatown are the Golden Gate Bakery with the custard tarts and the Fortune Cookie Factory, neither of which has anything to do with China. But they're the most popular spots in Chinatown. Normally we go inside to get a free sample, but we're not going to stand in line to do that. So you can come back here and do it on your own. Have you all had fortune cookies before? Where would you normally have them?
Chinese restaurants.
Everywhere in the world you go to a Chinese restaurant, you expect to get a fortune cookie except for one spot. What?
China.
China. When I was in China, we asked the tour guide, he said American fortune cookies. Yes. So let me give you the history of fortune cookies very briefly. There's a movie out called Killing the Chinese Cookie that gives the credit for the invention of fortune cookies to a Japanese family by the name of Hagawara that ran a Japanese tea garden for 50 years. And they made these flat cookies, put messages in, wrapped them, and served them. So what we think happened after the 1906 earthquake, when Chinatown was destroyed, they rebuilt quickly and tried to make it more Western friendly, and they knew Westerners liked something sweet at the end of the meal, so they latched on to the fortune cookies. And yet now you go anywhere in the world to a Chinese restaurant, you want a fortune cookie. Nothing to do with it. And this is a popular spot, so you can do this on your own. We're not going to go inside. You can actually watch them make it, and you can get a free sample. You can buy them. They're fresh right off the... So it's nice, but not worth standing in line for. So this is Ross Hour in case you ever do want to come back. We just ask people where the fortune cookie factory is. So we have two more stops.
Moi-même,你唔好上嚟，你叫我紅上嚟，因為你要顧下邊，明白未？
呢啲食嘅唔係好嘅，我食呢啲啊，呢啲食嘅唔係好嘅。我覺得。
Chinese customs, traditionally begging is not considered honorable. When I was in Tibet, where begging is considered honorable, the Chinese guards would put a stop to it immediately if they saw it, because it reflected badly on them. Once again, if you like standing in line, the good thing about the bakery is famous for dim sum. There's always a line in front of it. Asking if they have a recipe for starfish. Anyway, as I said, you'll see things in Chinatown you won't see in the rest of San Francisco. I have no idea what to do with that. It's fun to walk. Also, there's a problem with people using their hands. Don't shop in Chinatown. What? Yeah. That's the stores are primarily selling dried stuff, so it's just kind of fun to try to guess whatever. $2 billion subway to nowhere. It starts downtown, ends here because this is where the money ran out. Someday they're going to extend it, they said. And I'm long gone. And the thing is, we have very good bus service on Stockton. You can easily get a bus up and down Stockton.
Right.
And in fact, if someone wants to go back to Fort Mason, bus 30 will take you right there. On Stockton. I've never seen this color of paint. I thought it was rust at first.
Trying to take a photo of the cable car.
Honestly, I tried to speak French to French. They just talked English to me right away. They didn't like my accent very much. Paris. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
Yeah, I think that'd be nice. Oh, perfect. Yeah.
Anyway, one more one.
Yeah, I think it's the worst actually for Quebecois because the accent is very different. And it's, I think to the French, like really French people, like when they hear Quebecois, it's like barbaric. Really?
Yeah, I know it's like the old one.
Yeah.
Like a middle age.
Yeah, it's uglier sounding, I guess. I mean, you know, it's got its own charm, but the French don't really like it. So I think if you show up there to Quebecois, your English is very good. Everyone else needs to be. It'll vary. Like a small town, right? It would be good. I'd be growing up there.
So every week I came by here, and one week this popped up out of nowhere, just opened a coffee shop. And of course it's been busy ever since. So if you don't want to be an underground artist, you might want to own a coffee shop. Another good career choice.
I've definitely met a lot of older Quebecois.
There's another cable car right here. Want to take a picture?
Their English is not good. Like the younger people are learning more and more English, I'd say, but there's definitely regions in Quebec. Like Quebec is a very, there's often talk of even it's not going to happen if there's talking kids, right? Kind of similar with like the UK, where he said, yeah. Yeah, so I think, I don't know, it's probably like 30, 40 years ago, they were like rebels, and like martial law was declared in Canada. Yeah, they didn't separate, but there's actually a political party that operates only in Quebec, called Bloc Québécois, and their main goal is to separate from Canada, and they actually get a lot of votes, but they can't really do anything because they don't exist anywhere outside of Quebec, so they can't win elections. But it's kind of funny because they're actually in Quebec, in Canadian elections. There's actually a few areas in the state of Quebecois where if they win or if they're close to winning, at least. Bloc, just Bloc. Yeah.
So this is the Cable Car Museum. It's actually a very good museum and the working headquarters of the cable cars, and it's free. So we're at a crossroads. Our final stop is up this little hill here. That's our third and final hill. So we can either go there and then you can come down here, or if you want to stay here, you can stay here and then do that on your own, or...
That's the last, and then what?
What?
We go back to to Fort
You can
Mason?
come back here. No, the tour will end here.
Oh, okay, all right.
So either you can come here, or if you're downtown, the downtown hostel is just on the other side of the hill. But I mean, I'll tell you where to get to anywhere. But do you want to continue on? Do you want to stop here? Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
And as I said, if you want, you can just come right back down here. You can easily spend a half hour here. They've got an excellent video on how cable cars work and the history of cable cars, etc. You can even buy a piece of cable to take home. Just don't
Okay.
try carrying it on the plane.
All right.
So in 1873, this was a brilliant invention. It got people up the steepest hills. It got people all over town. There used to be 180 kilometers of lines. Now we're down to 18. And in fact, in 1947, the city announced they're going to get rid of all the cable cars. Which is kind of like Paris saying we're going to get rid of the Eiffel Tower. It's not doing anything. Fortunately, a woman named Frida Klusman led a revolt voted to keep the cable cars forever. Let me show you one of the features. This is the Mason line, that's the Hyde line. They don't meet. So the back here, there's a sign that says let go. So they release and they have to coast around and pick up that line. Sometimes they don't make it, in which case you either have to get out and push or they have to come back and try again. Several times they've gotten out and pushed and the car got away from them and crashed.
Oh no.
The good thing is when a bus breaks down, we get pissed off. If the cable car breaks down, it's an event. It was a brilliant system. It was very slow, very inefficient, very costly. It breaks down a lot, but we love it. We don't ride it, but we love it. It's mostly used by tourists. I use it once or twice a year, maybe. Okay, so let's do the last one, and then we can come back here. Inside, you'll notice it's very loud and it smells because they put oil on the cable to keep it from breaking. So the oil is cooking all day long.